call the roll.
Glenn Whitley, County Judge.
Here.
Roy Charles Brooks, Commissioner Precinct 1.
Present.
Andy H. Wynn, Commissioner Precinct 2.
Here.
Gary Fickus, Commissioner Precinct 3.
Here.
J.D. Johnson, Commissioner Precinct 4.
Here.
Constitutes a quorum.
Our invocation today will be delivered by Wesley Shotwell from the Ash Creek Baptist Church in Hazel, Texas. Appreciate you being out here today.
Thank you.
After the invocation, please remain standing.
Thank you. We appreciate it. I do regret that we don't have Baylor up there.
Well, you know, I don't have a Baylor hat. Somebody's going to have to bring me a Baylor hat.
All right. Well,
I'm sure I'll have one here pretty quick.
I'm sure you will. Oh, God, we are grateful for the privilege we have to live in a place where we can govern ourselves. And today we bring before you these who have been elected by us to represent us, these who work for the behalf of the people of Tarrant County. We ask that you would bless them. For these employees and others who have business before this court, we are grateful for them. We ask that you would bless them as they also serve this community. And as decisions are made today, we pray that you would that these men would make decisions that are right and just, that they would remember those who are in need, that they would do those things which are best for the people who live here. And we are grateful for your blessings upon us. We pray these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
No stories, we'll just... Mr. Manius.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one agenda announcement this morning. It's on item 9K1. Under County Judge and Commissioners, we're going to ask that it be removed from the consent agenda and that it be taken up whenever we get to that part of the agenda itself. Also, just a quick reminder to the court, we do have our final two public hearings this morning as it relates to the tax rate for both Tarrant County government and also Tarrant County Hospital District government. Thank you, Your Honor.
Did you say 9A1?
He did, but I don't think it's 9A1 he was talking about.
9K1?
K or A?
K.
K.
K. Oh.
K is in King.
Court members, you have before you the minutes of our regular meeting of August the 26th.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Under proclamations and resolutions, we have our first proclamation is for National Preparedness Month, and we have our own Tanya Hunter and William Wessel here. Will y'all come on forward, and I'll read this into the record and then bring it down and present it to you. Whereas National Preparedness Month, an event founded after the tragedy of 9/11 to increase preparedness in the U.S., creates an important opportunity for every resident of Tarrant County to prepare their homes, businesses, and communities for any type of emergency, including natural disasters and potential terrorist attacks. And whereas investing in the preparedness of ourselves, our families, businesses, and communities can reduce fatalities and economic devastation in our communities and in our nation, and whereas Tarrant County is working closely with its planning and response partners, including municipalities, private organizations, volunteer agencies, community groups, and education providers, to increase public activities in preparing for emergencies and to educate individuals on how to take action. And whereas emergency preparedness is the responsibility of every citizen of Tarrant County, and all citizens are urged to make preparedness a priority and work together as a team to ensure that individuals, families, and communities are prepared for disasters and emergencies of any type. And whereas all citizens of Tarrant County are encouraged to participate in citizen preparedness activities to become more prepared by taking 3 simple steps: get an emergency supply kit, make a plan for what to do in an emergency, and be informed by identifying sources of information in your community that will be helpful before, during, and after an emergency. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Commissioners Court of Tarrant County, hereby proclaim September 2014 as National Preparedness Month and encourage all citizens and businesses to develop their own emergency preparedness plan and work together toward creating a more prepared society. In witness whereof, we have hereunto set our hands and caused the seal of Tarrant County to be affixed this 2nd day of September 2014, and I'll move its approval.
Second.
A motion to second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. How are you? Just want to make sure that everyone in Tarrant County, because it is September is National Preparedness Month, in recognition for 9/11, making sure that our Tarrant County residents as well as our local businesses are prepared for emergencies or disasters. So we thank you this morning for this proclamation. Thank you.
Thank you all. Commissioner Fickus.
Yes, we want to move approval of a resolution we presented Friday for Dr. Larry Darledge's retirement at Northeast Tarrant County College campus.
Second. We have a motion to second. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Now we come to our employee recognition, and most of y'all know the drill. The only ones that might not are our first group, the 5 years. So as I call your name or what sounds like your name, and that's especially appropriate with about the first couple of folks that we've got on the list, please stand and remain standing until I finish that particular group, and then we'll recognize all of y'all, and then we'll move to the next one. So beginning with our 5-year employees, our first one is Aloysius Amahor, Sheriff's Office. Star Anderson, Sheriff's Office. Myra Calderar, Constable's Office, Precinct 5. Timothy Hudenpile, Sheriff's Office. Amanda McNutt, Domestic Relations. Josephina Morano, Sheriff's Office. Kirk Moss, the 325th District Court. Carlos Noguera, Sheriff's Office. Charles Reynolds, Judicial Staff Counsel. Yvonne Stubbs, Sheriff's Office. Leanna Wells, District Clerk's Office. William Wilson, Juvenile Services. These are our 5-year employees. Let's give them a hand. Now for our 10-year employees, Steve Cheney, Cooperative Extension. Steve. Janice Davis, Tax Office. Clara Jacob Coleman, District Attorney's Office. Debbie Mahan, District Clerk's Office. Dan Nichols, Tax Office. Nancy Sanchez, nah. Juvenile Services? Okay. Sandez. Well, you're right. I'd have never gotten that one. John, there's some that would argue I would have never gotten it regardless how it had been spelled. John Stubblefield, Precinct 3. John. Daniel Taylor, Tax Office. And Kim Wheeler Mendoza, District Clerk's Office. These are our 10-year employees. Let's give them. Now for our 15-year employees, Lisa Adami, Public Health. Roger Hogel, Sheriff's Office. Carrie Maldonado, Domestic Relations Office. Felicia Maxwell, Juvenile Services. Lisa Navarez, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 5. Angelica Sandoval, Public Health. Sarah Smith, Constable's Office, Precinct 8. These are our 15-year employees. Now for our 20-year employees, Arnetta Bell, Sheriff's Office. Clarita Bell, District Attorney's Office. Mark Black, Sheriff's Office. Juan Gutierrez, Precinct 1. Dorothy Gibson, Auditor's Office. Esther Goodwin, District Attorney's Office. Scott Johnson, Sheriff's Office. Lisa Solensner. Yeah, well, she's probably going to be here. There you go. Where did I come up with the other? I was so worried about the Solensner that I missed the Leslie.
Right.
Well, she's with Domestic Relations. And at least I got Domestic Relations right this time. And Deborah Windsor, District Attorney's Office. These are our 20-year employees. Thank you very much. Thank you, Leslie. Now for our 25-year plus employees, we'll recognize them, and I had an opportunity to talk with everyone. Our first is Brad Carpenter, Domestic Relations, 25 years. Brad started in domestic relations and the family court services area, did custody in the beginning, and now basically does all of the contested child custody cases and travels really all over the country to to basically check out the parents that have custody of the children and make sure everything's going right. Under memorable moments, he talked about the time when they moved into the new family law building. What he said he liked most was the people that he's had a chance to work for and with. He said, I've made a bunch of friends that I've had a chance to work with and grow with. Worked for CPS before and loves the county benefits and the people. Was your wife able to make it today? Welcome. Stand and let us recognize you also. Let's welcome her. No, don't sit down yet. Stand on back up. He said, still loves what he's doing. I know that you delivered your daughter to Baylor last week. And I think that was, I think both of them are still adjusting a little bit to the empty nester part of it. As I told your husband, we have 3 kids. We've been empty nesters 6 times. They'll be back. Brad said he's still playing softball, and he said, I don't know whether it was one of our HRAs, but he said I went in there and they looked at it and they wrote some stuff on there, and as many of us have seen that word that starts with an O, obese, and he said it had such an effect on me. He said I lost 40 pounds. And so we appreciate that. We appreciate you, and we appreciate the 25 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you for helping him do it. Next is Cedric Simons, 25 years in confinement. And it looks to me like you brought a few people with you. One especially, when she saw her grandfather, I think she was pretty excited about that. Started at the Cold Springs area, transferred over to Belknap, has been over the Correction Center and is now over the new Lon Evans Center. Cedric was the first Tarrant County officer to graduate from the FBI National Academy, which was a program in Quantico. When I asked him what he liked most, he said it was the people and the opportunities which he's been given as he's had a chance to work with Tarrant County. He said his daughter was a toddler, and I've got a feeling that that's the one sitting next to you that's not a toddler anymore. And she now works for Tarrant County. He's been a supervisor for probably now the last 23 years, has done the best to pass along to his fellow officers how much he feels that Tarrant County is a great place. Since we last talked, he has a granddaughter who is 2 years old, who I think we had an opportunity to see there. He teaches at the academy. He said, I'm getting to be one of the senior folks now. And he said, instead of getting the advice, he said, I feel like I'm now kind of giving the advice. I want your wife to stand up. One of the things that he said is that in all the time he's been here, he'd make changes. There'd be shift changes or these, and that she always adjusted the schedule at the house to work with his schedule. And he said, I can't even begin to tell you how much I appreciate her and everything that she's done over the 25 years that I've been with the county. She's working at the city of Fort Worth, working in one of the new recreation departments. And Cedric, we appreciate very much the 25 years you've given us. And as a family, we appreciate the time that you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you very, very much. Next is Ron Singer with the Medical Examiner's Office. There's Ron. We've worked on getting Ron here. He was going to come in June and was out of town, and so we're finally getting him here in September. He actually started, he's celebrating 25 years. When he first started, he started on June the 1st, but he was out of the country. And so he ended up, being a little late in his start here. He was hired in 1989 to put together the crime lab, and he's been running it for all these many years. He's now actually turned the running of the crime lab over to someone else, but he's now kind of the technical and administrative director. When I asked him about memorable moments, one event he said that is just sticks in my mind is the Branch Davidian event. He has also had an opportunity over the years to serve as president of both the American and the International Academies for Forensic Scientists. And as a result of that, he's had an opportunity to speak not only all over the country, but really all over the world. When I asked him what he liked most, he said it was the opportunities, the people that he's had a chance to work for, working with Dr. Pirwani, and the support he's received from the county and everything that he's had a chance to do. When I asked him kind of what's happened over the last 5 years, he said he's maintained his activities and his professional association and foundation, and I think as we kind of commented on, once you find somebody who's willing to work and to be a leader, it's hard to get away from the organizations that you're a part of. He's now the technical director for all the labs over the Medical Examiner's Office. Has 3 grandchildren, a girl that's 6, a boy that's 3, and another little boy that's 4 months old. And we talked a little bit about them and the joy that they bring to your life. He said, I've just had an absolutely wonderful time working with the county, and he said, I couldn't have asked for a better group of people to work with and to work for. So, Ron, we appreciate very much the years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Thank you. Next is Jadal Sorrell with the tax office, 25 years. Started out in the tax office as a renewal clerk, was promoted to supervisor in the mail-out department, is now assistant supervisor at Southwest. When I asked her about the memorable moments, it was the progress and the changes that have occurred over the years. She said, we continue to be more and more service-friendly. What she likes most is the co-workers and the supervisors that she's had a chance to work with. She said, we just all get along great. It's just a great place to work. She said, I really love the people that she's had a chance to work with. When I asked her what's kind of occurred over the last 5 years, she said her daughter's graduated from high school. She's actually now, I guess, going to school at Tarleton here in Fort Worth, she's working part-time, and she's getting married next May. So that's definitely keeping everybody busy at this point in time. She said, I also have a son that's playing 8th grade football, and so that also will keep you busy. Jada, we appreciate very much the 25 years of service you've given us. Thank you. Next is Leland Briggs with Information Technology. Been here with us for 30 years. Started out in the IT as a junior systems programmer and is now working as a systems programmer in the county. When I asked him about the memorable moments, and this was, I guess, probably 5 years ago, we talked about the Y2K project. And, I kind of thought back on that because we were, I was here when that happened, and I know we were all very anxious about it. We thought, okay, this, everybody said the world's going to come to end when we go to 2000. And it really was kind of a non-event for us. But the reason it was a non-event is because of people like Leland and the people in our ID department who worked long hours for months making sure that when an event occurred, that it was really a non-event for us. When I asked him what he liked most, he said, I like the fact that we look to the future, and as a result of always looking to the future, there's not as much pressure on us because we are planning for those events that occur as opposed to reacting to those events as they occur. He said, I enjoy the benefits and the compensation that we've had over the years here. Leland, we appreciate very much the 30 years of service you've given us. Thank you. Next is Emily Larry with the District Attorney's Office, 30 years. There she is. Started out in the County Clerk's Office in a work-study program as a part-time person. We're going to be there for about 6 months. She thought, well, I'll probably, I might stay with the county for about 5 years, and so we're real excited to be recognizing you for your 30th year of service. She said, I moved, at one point in time, I moved to the DA's office and started out in the check department. She's worked out at the Alliance for Children facility and now is still the paralegal in the crimes against children, but she's now in the downtown area. When I asked her about the memorable office, she said, working in small spaces and sharing office phones and desks. She said, I'll just never forget that time. When I asked her what she liked most, she said she enjoyed the people that she's had a chance to work with, working with the whole community and being a part of that, being the flexibility and the friendships with the people she's had a chance to work with. She said she's grown up with the county and has had many lifelong friends that she's made over the years. When I asked her kind of what had happened since the last time we had talked, she says, well, one of my daughters has finished school and finished college, and she's an RN. She said, I have one that's a junior, another daughter that's a junior in high school, and a daughter who's a 7th grader. And she said, my oldest child is a son. I think she said he was in his 30s now, and that he has twin grandsons. So she now has twin grandsons that are 18 months old, and that will definitely keep you busy. Wow. So we appreciate very much, Emily, the 30 years of service you've given to Tarrant County. Next is Elodia Mcbride, and I don't believe she was going to be able to make it down here. She is in pretrial services, so if you have a chance and you see Elodia, please congratulate her on the 30 years of service that she's given to Tarrant County. Next is Nancy Mcgovern, Juvenile Services for 30 years. There's Nancy. started out in juvenile services in the secretarial pool, and she decided that, I'm going to go back to school and I'm going to get my degree, and she did that, and she worked as an assistant in the probation officer, as assistant in the probation office, got her degree and became a probation officer. She now works as in the field offices with the mentally ill offenders. Most memorable moment, she said, were some of the practical jokes that they would play on each other in the department. When I asked her what she liked most, she said the kids that she's had a chance to work with. She said everyone that she works with out there really has the best interest of the kids at heart, and that it's really a family atmosphere. She said the judges really care about the kids. The whole team, from the officers to the court folks to the DAs, all are working to do what's best for the kids. She also has a 5-year-old grandson, and so that's kind of occurred since the last time we talked. Nancy, we appreciate very much the 30 years of service you've given us. All of these folks accumulated 655 years of service to our county, services to the citizens of our county, and a passionate heart for public service. And we appreciate each and every one of you, and we want to thank you again for everything you've done. We have pictures and refreshments in 504C. Again, thank you very much for your service to Tarrant County. Let's give them another big round of applause. Court members, you have before you the consent agenda.
Second.
A motion second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. And why don't we go ahead and receive and file the employee recognition?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion second, receive and file employee recognition. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius?
Thank you, Your Honor. We have 2 additional public hearings this morning. If we can go to item 8A, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court do the following. Conduct a public hearing regarding the tax year 2014 tax rate for Tarrant County, and to announce the date, time, and place of the vote of the tax rate, which is as follows. That vote will occur next Tuesday, September 9th, 2014 at 10 o'clock in the morning in the Commissioner's Courtroom, which is located in the County Administration Building, 100 East Weatherford Street in Fort Worth, Texas. The proposed tax rate is .264 per $100 valuation, which is the same as the current tax rate.
I will now open this public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I will close the public hearing.
And these are our final public hearings on these matters.
Yes. We'll have several public hearings next week, but not on the tax rate. We'll do the vote on the tax rate. Members of the court, if we can go to the second public hearing, which is 8B. This concerns the Tarrant County Hospital District. We're requesting that the Commissioners Court do the following. Conduct a public hearing regarding tax year 2014 tax rate for Tarrant County Hospital District, and to announce the date, time, and place of the vote of the tax rate, which is as follows. Again, this will be next Tuesday, September 9th, 2014 at 10 o'clock in the morning. It'll be held in the Commissioner's Courtroom, which is located in the Tarrant County Administration Building, 100 East Weatherford Street in Fort Worth, Texas. The proposed tax rate is .227897 per $100 valuation, which is the same rate as the current rate.
I will now open the public hearing and ask if there's anyone here wishing to speak to this matter. There appearing to be none, then I will close the public hearing.
Thank you, Your Honor. We can now move to the administrator's section.
Mr. Mays, let me ask you one question.
Yes.
When do we do the emergency services?
It'll be next Tuesday.
And we don't have to have a public hearing on those?
No, they've had their public hearings.
Okay.
Public hearings have to be held inside the district. And
Okay.
that's in the unincorporated
So
area.
their board did that?
Yes.
Okay.
Members of the court, if we can now go to the administrator's section. We have two additional items to bring to the court. The first one, in accordance to Section 81.005 of the Texas Local Government Code, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court designate Tuesday as the day of the week that the Commissioners Court will convene in its regular term each month during fiscal year 2015.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Finally, members of the court, on item number 2, we're requesting that the Commissioners Court approve a resolution which relates to the tax-exempt financing facilitated by the Northeast Education Facilities Corporation in a maximum amount not to exceed $6.4 million for the benefit of the Fort Worth Christian School for certain educational facilities located in Tarrant County. I might just make a comment on this. This is similar to one we did several weeks ago, where that we have another corporation that's issuing this tax-exempt debt. It's the Northeast Higher Education Facilities Corporation. The reason that it's coming to this body is because the work that is contemplated with the expenditure of these funds is at the Fort Worth Christian School, which is located in North Richland Hills.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Just a second. There are generally some caveats that you
Yes,
make. Would you make those?
yes, they intend to abide by our hub policy, and also the work that the property that is on is not restricted against any type of governmental operation.
Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Glenn?
Move to receive and file the personnel agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to receive and file personnel agenda. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Good morning. Thank you.
Good morning.
We have one additional item. That's item number 2. We're asking the court to approve a waiver for of terminal benefits for juvenile services. As noted in your court communique, the administrative assistant retired on August the 29th with 101 vacation hours. Mr. Turner is requesting a waiver effective August 30th. The net cost to the general fund we're estimating to be a little more than $1,500, and that includes fringe benefits.
Move
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Mr. Beecham. Just on the happenstance that your team were to ever win another game, I don't have a hat down here from Arkansas. So, I mean, I don't want you to miss an opportunity.
Not
but,
that you'd respect it, but I can get you one.
well, I mean, you know,
They don't wear hats.
if you think you'll need It's shoes they don't wear. They wear hats.
I'm liking our chances against Nicholls State Saturday, but we have one item for your consideration this morning. It's a bid award recommendation for bid 2014-156. This is our annual contract for lumber and building materials and supplies. Recommendation will be toward a per unit price basis, awarding to the primary and secondary vendors as shown in the court communique.
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Please vote. Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Okay, the item that we've got is the item on the approval of a contract. Commissioner Wynn, I believe that's yours. Could you talk to us a little bit? I saw that and thought, okay, as we're moving the website up, I just wanted to get an idea of your planning on that, and then whether or not the rest of us need to look at something along that type of lines, or what the deal was on that.
Yes, Your Honor, I'd like to introduce to you Ms. Rebecca Rodriguez with Ciano Media. Would you please come forward in case the court have any question for you? Judge and court members, the reason I decided to engage the service of Ciano Media and present this item to you for discussion and approval is a number of things. The driving factors, number one, has to do with the expertise that is needed to develop a content that will be engaging to our constituents. My perception is that we are not only developing a web portal for a department, Precinct 2, within Tarrant County, but also we are developing a web portal that is indicative of the strengths and the aspiration of the people of Southeast Tarrant County. So from that perspective, we feel like despite my staff earnest effort in the first try, they have worked long hours, but I had to arrive at a conclusion that we just don't have the expertise to really develop the kind of content at the level of my expectation. Not only the writing and the context, we also have to use the words that can be optimized in the search engines. And by that I mean, as our constituent enter words into the search engines, whether it's Bing or Google, we want to use the words that will basically be most friendly to the search engines, allowing our constituent to be able to get to the areas that they want to get to within the shortest amount of time, with the fewest number of clicks. And also to get all this done within a very finite and limited time resource. My staff is overwhelmed with their existing workload. We have so many different projects within Southeast Tarrant County. We are going through a budgeting process at the county, at JPS, and so forth. And some of my staff members have worked long into the hours, some even midnight. And despite our best effort, maybe I'm picky, but I'm not happy with the service. And that's not a negative reflection of my team. As a result, I felt strongly that it would be more prudent if Precinct 2 engage a service from a professional firm who has a track record of providing the type of web development, content development service that is appealing to the general public, and have done that in the past. Additionally, as a county, we are spending millions in this web portal development project and social media project. And we only have one shot at the first image. The professionalism and the image of how our county look toward our constituents is largely dependent on how they perceived us via the web portal. And the cost of having someone like Ms. Rodriguez looking over the shoulder of my staff is relatively small in comparison to the $1 million that we're going to put together. I believe the contract is only $37.50, and by spending an extra $3,750, we will ensure that the investment that we are making, the millions of dollars investment that we're making as a county, will pay off at the user level. And that's the reason why we have decided to put this item in front of you for your discussion and hopefully for your approval. And I would ask for your support in this matter. Thank you.
I guess a question that I have is, why wouldn't we do this for the whole county? I mean, if we don't feel like we're getting this contact from that, I mean, has IT or the IT steering committee, or have you all looked at this possibility?
To answer your question, Judge, I have talked to all CIO about
Talk to who?
to Chris, about whether or not we have the internal expertise to develop the web content. And we do have Mr. I forgot his, Jim Duff, to help us out, and Mark Flake. However, we have multiple departments going live at once. Mr. Mark Flake and Mr. Jim Duff also have their daily responsibility that they have to meet. And then each department have a set of unique needs when it comes to communication to the constituents and to the stakeholders. And then we also need someone who not only understands public relation, communication, but also graphics and the technology behind search engine optimization. That I don't believe we have within Tarrant County. So the decision is really up to the court. I have Ms. Rodriguez here. If you have any question for her, I'm sure she will be more than happy to answer your question.
I just have a comment, Your Honor and Andy. I do not oppose your request. It's being funded out of your internal budget. I think that's an appropriate thing for you to do. However, all of us sitting at this table face the same challenges that Precinct 2 is facing in terms of projects in our queue, in terms of workload, in terms of lack of specific expertise to develop websites. We all are in the same boat. Precinct 1, after some training, we found the tools that were given to us by IT to be fairly user-friendly. And we came up with what we thought was a very decent product using the tools at hand. I must say that although I don't oppose what you're doing, the end result of what you're doing is to start an arms race, because I cannot have Precinct 2's website sitting out there with sizzle and pop and Precinct 1's website being disadvantaged because we didn't hire professional help.
And I'm sure that Wilder or Mary Louise or Ron wouldn't look at that in any similar light.
So if you do this, then I'm going to want somebody at least to vet the work that my staff did and make sure that it includes the requisite sizzle and pop, so that we will compare favorably with the professional product that Precinct 2 advances. And that's my comment.
Well,
I thought IT was monitoring all of our websites, and Are we out of line with what we are proposing? I'm asking IT, ma'am, I'm not.
Nothing against you, Ms. Rodriguez. I understand that sizzle and pop is what you bring to the table. And, you know, everybody needs some of that.
Good morning, Your Honor. Good morning, members of the court. I believe that Commissioner Brooks actually summarized it appropriately. One of the approaches that we took with new next generation web presence was an empowerment of each of agencies and departments to not be overly dependent on IT, because in the past the way we managed our web content was that IT always had to be called to change something. And what the new approach we're taking now is the departments can actually have a lot more latitude, to manage their content and move things and change things. Now, I think Commissioner Wen stated it also rightly that it was really his, maybe that he's a little picky about what he wants his site to look like. But I do not, we are going to have to work with the professional services, because the tools that are provided, actually there is training that you have to be given before you can use the tools. And so I believe that Commissioner Wayne truly believes that there's value to be added here. Now, to your point, Commissioner Brooks, I actually do have, again, our Adobe partners, which is the vendor that is putting in this product. They do have, again, resources lined up and ready, again, to re-engage. As we decided to take the temporary delay with our go live, we actually talked at the project meeting last week that any department, precinct, agency that wants to reopen their signed-off sites. I looked at many of them; they look pretty good. But those that want to reopen their sites for some additional vetting, Commissioner, that's completely possible, and we do have expertise lined up to do that. There will be no additional cost to do that. I don't know if that answered your question, Commissioner.
Not directly, but I'll accept your response. That's fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
I think if I may clarify, one of the things that as I understand it, my task to do is not only, it's about efficiency, and it's about having an overall perspective, and it's not just about the bells and whistles, because I think all of you have the same tools at your disposal, and they are excellent tools, and they can all be accessed by anyone on staff. What I do, what I bring to the table is kind of an editorial perspective also. What does the end user experience need to be? And as the end user, as a constituent, what makes that site most useful? And editorially, how can you best tell the story of what Precinct 1, 2, 3, and 4 have to offer the end user? And that's what I hope to do, is tell those stories in the best way possible. And that's what I do for a living, and that's what I've always done. And so that's what I hope to do best for Precinct 2. And I can do for anyone's precinct, frankly, in the whole county. So that's what I'm trying to do here, and I think that's what we're working toward as a goal.
And I understand the concern that Commissioner Brooks has, but in development of the Precinct 2 web portal, I'm looking at Southeast County and the 500,000 residents, taxpayers living within Southeast County, and I'm asking one question. What are they expecting from my office? What are they expecting when they get onto the Precinct 2 website? What do they want to see? How convenient do they want it to be, and so forth? And because of that, I have set a certain standard for my staff to meet. And Chris said it, and in all fairness, I have a very extensive IT background. Therefore, I'm a little bit more particular than your average elected official, and I do admit that. But in the financial scheme of the millions of dollars that we're investing in developing our web portal on a county-wide basis, I think spending $3,750 to make sure the content and the graphic are friendly to our constituents, to make sure that they actually serve the constituents, is a worthy investment. In the past 4 years, I have struggled with the old web portal that we had, but because of the limitation, I wasn't able to do so. So hopefully, with this web portal, with the help of Ms. Rodriguez, I'll be able to meet the needs of the Southeast Tarrant County constituents. And the court may decide to do the same thing if that's the court thinks to be prudent. But from my perspective as a county commissioner representing Southeast Tarrant County, I feel strongly that this small investment of $3,750 will take us a long way in our ability to engage our constituents.
Like Roy Brooks, I'm not going to oppose. If that's what you feel like you need, I'm satisfied with what my staff developed. In the 8 hours they work each day, we didn't work till midnight on ours, but my staff worked long and hard also, and I think they did an outstanding job, and I'm satisfied with what we have.
Yes.
We have, in my area, we have worked very diligently, I think, with IT, and for whatever reason, I don't think we ended up where we wanted to be. And we've kind of put our project on the back burner, and to wait and see what Commissioner Wynn came up with as far as somebody to aid him, and so that's where we're sitting.
And this is kind of this is kind of the reason why I asked that we talk a little bit about this, because Chris mentioned that there's going to be some training involved. And so if all 68 elected officials go out and decide they want to do something different, then we potentially have 68 different folks that we're going to have to train and bring into the process. If everybody charges the $3,700, then we're looking at about $250,000. And trust me, I'm probably just as picky about this stuff as you would be, and I kind of agree with Roy. I'm not going to look at my website and feel like it's not up to speed, and so I would really rather us look at, if we're going to do this, then we look at having someone who's going to look at making it consistent, because what I don't want to have is 67 or 68 different people putting their own little snazz and bells and whistles. And so each one of them are not consistent as they move through our websites. So I think if we're going to go outside of our IT department, I would really like to see us, no offense, pull back right now and determine whether we're going to do this. And if we're going to do it, then we do it collectively, and we have somebody who's going to take a professional look at our website and not have 5 or 6 or 7 people or 5 or 6 or 7 different groups that are doing that.
Well, Glenn, I agree, and to a certain extent. I know that our office, I sat in one meeting, and excuse me for not sitting in any more, but I sat in a meeting on the front end, and I was told what we were going to have, and I had suggestions concerning a couple of issues, and my suggestions were totally ignored, okay? So I didn't go to any more meetings. They were literally totally ignored. And
well, now let me ask one question. Was this your office?
Our whole office and the IT, they sent a group over of 3 or 4 people, and they told us this was our first initial meeting. They showed me what they were going to do, I asked some questions, I had some suggestions, I asked them to get back with me, and I was ignored. Okay, they did not, never heard another word about my suggestions, and so my people, Carolyn, mainly led by Carolyn, and Rebecca and Devin have been continuing to meet. We had a tremendous amount of work done that was sent, if I'm correct here, a couple of weeks ago, and it was lost. So we have other projects like all of us do. We decided to wait and see what we'd heard. Andy was talking to somebody. We decided to work on our projects that were important to our office to get done because they were time frame issues, and that website was not one of them. And we would put it on the back burner and wait and see what happened and get back to it later at our convenience and not at IT's convenience because we weren't getting the support. I didn't feel I was getting the support.
I feel like I'll have to say that we went through the same process, but I did feel like our folks were very attentive. Now, a lot of the work was done within our office, but IT, I know, was helping from the outside and helped quite a bit on the deal. All of this, I think, just, again, goes to the fact that I would like to see us hold off right now on approving this and determine whether or not, as a county, we need to look at having someone who's going to do this consistently so that we don't end up with 30 different people doing 30 different things.
In my opinion, for the money we're spending in our IT department, we should not have to be talking about this. We should not have to go outside of IT to get it done.
Even this proposal specifies that Andy's website and the work that Ms. Rodriguez does will be within the guidelines of IT. There will not be the ability to go outside of those guidelines to add bells and whistles that aren't included in the template. What they are contracting for is editorial assistance and style points. But it's all within the template, this Adobe Content Manager thing. It's all got to fit within the existing template. There won't be anything extra.
Thank you, Commissioner. Judge, the wireframe, the entire template for the county will be the same. We will work within the guideline of the county. What we are talking about is the customization of what inside that wireframe that is specific to Precinct 2. Ms. Garcia is blessed that she has a group of individuals led by Mr. Nickel who really understand the development of content. And I don't think she would have a problem with my office utilizing an outside expert because we feel like we don't have the expertise to meet the expectation of the constituents.
So you're not going to ask for any money for this?
Apparently not. Of what I saw,
Well, I mean, because at some point in time, if enough of us ask for it, we're going to be, Jack, what's the limit that we're going to be able to spend on any one individual vendor?
I'm so sorry. I need a
I'm
rearview
sorry,
mirror
Miss-
there.
I'm sorry, Rebecca. I didn't think that this was going to be such a...
This project would be fine. You multiply that times a whole bunch more, you're going to have a problem, so less 50,000. I'm assuming this is a professional services contract. I've not seen it. My concern from a purchasing standpoint would be that we beg, plead, and cajole people to sign up in T-Boars. If you went...
Sign up in what?
Tarrant vendor online registration in our database. If we went countywide with this, I have a bunch of small vendors, hub vendors, and other folks public relations firms, other firms, and unfortunately do the same thing with you, maybe not as popping, whatever the words were. And they're going to be wanting to know why they didn't have the opportunity if this project were to expand. And I say that often.
Jack, you say $50,000, but it's not just to one vendor. That has to be countywide. If the total for this type of activity is greater than $50,000, $49,999, we have to bid it.
This would be, even though it's a professional services contract, it's a component. So 37.5, if it were to grow past 50, you in essence could have a situation where 15 or 20 elected officials could do the same thing, and then somebody, the one that busted the 50, you'd have to actually go out to a formal sealed bid for that. So my concern, unfortunately, professionally, would be that I would suggest that we give those vendors in our database the opportunity, because if somebody comes to Commissioner's Court and makes a statement to you that I didn't have the opportunity, I'm not sure how you could answer that question.
And how long does that take for you to go through a competitive process and finally arrive at a decision? 6 months?
No, sir.
How long?
Everything's fast track right now. We could do it probably 6 weeks, maybe not that long, according to the size of the project. That's something I don't know standing here at the podium.
And so I want to be sure I understand. So if each one of us picked a different vendor.
Yes, sir.
At some point, once the professional services for this type of contract crosses 50, then someone at that 50,000 mark is going to have to go out for bid.
Very possibly, yes, sir.
It doesn't matter. I mean, each department, if they so choose to do so, would have a different scope, would have a total different scope of service.
No, the scope of service is reviewing our website.
But the writing of the content to fit the needs of the department and the precinct too will be entirely different.
Well, no.
Okay, because...
But it's all looking at the website and the content of that particular area, whatever it is, and because they call yours Precinct 2 and mine the county judge. And Andy, I'm sorry, but I mean, this is something I would be looking forward to.
Sir, something is effective to be done and coordinated from a centralized approach. The customization and the art and the graphic and the needs of each precinct is totally different. That's why we have 4 precinct garages, not 1. Different. There are certain things that is unique to Arlington, to Mansfield, to Cannondale, that Fort Worth doesn't have. And that's why we need to have that level of customization, and that decentralization, and that flexibility to make it work. So I respectfully disagree with what your concern is. I understand your concern, but I don't think it is necessary for us to retain a county-wide vendor to do this, because not all departments have the need, and not all departments will have the same needs.
And not all departments have the budget to do it.
Well, the vendor who is selected may not have the expertise and the knowledge of Precinct 2, because they don't live there. They don't work there. They don't engage with our constituents on a daily basis like Ms. Rodriguez has. She is the developer of the City of Arlington website. She understands Arlington. She understands Cannondale, Fort Worth. And that knowledge may not be applicable to Precinct 1.
I would ask that at this point in time, based upon what Jack has said, that we at least get some sort of a preliminary tally as to how many people might want to go out, because what I heard Jack say is that if it has to do with reviewing and maintaining or reviewing your particular website of either the department or the county as a whole, and we get past 50,000, we got a problem.
With all due respect, Commissioner Wynn, Judge Whitley is right in this respect. That's considered component purchasing. That's just like buying a pickup truck, whether it's a half-ton, a three-quarter ton, it's still a pickup truck. It's the same thing with the service. It's a purchase of website design or
And
whatever.
if we could just have Mr. Manius poll the various departments, the elected officials, to get a sense. Sure. Why not?
I understand what Commissioner Wynn is saying, so just listening to the court, my perspective, we have services in the county clerk office that we provide, and they are blocks. Y'all, in my opinion, have a lot of moving parts as commissioners, road crews and things like that, so you're very fluid, and while we're fluid, and I think our tax assessor is fluid, we have things that simply happen. You come in and you buy a birth certificate or a marriage license. It's very stable type business that we do. So, my staff, Chief Nicholson, we were able to tell that story pretty successful, and if we need help with grammar or things like that, we're going to go to Mark Flake to do things like that. But I see your point. I do see your point. Y'all are very fluid. You have a lot going on versus us. Judge, it's stability. You're going to go in and buy records, or you're going to go in and do this and that. We don't have an opportunity to be creative and get a message. It's just information that we're passing back and forth. You're going to give me a credit card. You're going to do this. You're going to get on the web and buy something. So I see his point. So for me, I don't know about the tax assessor, but for me, I don't see us needing to do that. We're pretty creative on our team, and so I feel comfortable with it personally. That's how I look at when I hear y'all's conversation and what I think we do in my office.
For the sake of time, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to move for approval of this agreement pending the approval of the district attorney office about what Jack Beecham mentioned as a concern. If the district attorney office deemed that doing this may cause a legal issue for the county, then
Okay, Ray. You got any comment at this point in time, or are you?
Let me second the motion so that
Okay.
we can have a vote on it.
I don't think I've ever heard a motion quite like that, but
no, you tell me if what I'm doing is
what you're
legally
doing,
all right or not.
well, the problem is what you're doing is spending $3,700, which you can spend it if the court approves it. That's the problem is we're speculating that this service, which I have to admit, when I approved this contract, I didn't think too much about it because it was for $3,700. If someone had rolled this contract in for $100,000 or $60,000, it would have been looked at a lot differently. And I would have thought about it a lot differently. Is this a professional service? I think that's probably what the underlying question is. If it's a professional service, which I don't know that it is, I don't know what the AG opinions would say. If it's a professional service, we're probably not governed by the component purchasing law, which is what Jack was talking about. But it might not be a professional service. I'll have to think about exactly what, I think I know what they're going to do in Precinct 2 with this particular vendor. It's going to be an attempt to help Google searches of the website, of that part of the website that might otherwise be a little lacking. I think that's what it is. I'm not sure. This is such a new area, I don't know whether it's a professional service. If it's not a professional service, everything Jack said absolutely is clear. Now, I want to point out that the way we wrote this agreement, we said it was a professional service. But in reality, I didn't really think about it because we're spending $3,700, so it didn't really matter. I know that's a long answer. We're going to have to look, so you can pass the motion or have it fail. It doesn't matter. What will happen is we will have to look this week to see, has anyone said that what they're doing is a professional service or not?
And given that they're going to have to look this week, can we delay that for at least 1 week and let them come back with an answer? Because I heard at least 3 other of us up here who are at least considering having their website looked at.
And they may have to make that decision, but that decision is based on the unique needs of Precinct 1 and Precinct 3.
And that's what the DA's office will tell us after they've had a chance to look at it for a week. So is there a reason why we can't wait a week to have this looked at?
I'd just like to clarify with Ray. You said you don't know whether it is a professional service. You also don't know whether it's not.
No, it's the same thing.
No, it's not. For the public record, it's not.
Do you think you can have an answer back to us by next week?
I may have an answer that it's not been determined yet. I suspect that's what we're going to find. I suspect. Okay, look, back in the 60s, the list was really short. MDs, lawyers, architects. That was the list. Everyone else was not professional service. But things started to expand. More people got more degrees, started to get more specialized. And now we have a few more that make us concerned. I want to read this and kind of compare it to some other possible things. I think we'll know something. It should, well, absolutely. But it may be we don't know for sure. That may be what we know. I'll have to talk to Jack about it. We didn't discuss this until what we're talking about.
So can we hold for 1 week?
Judge, I'd like for us to take a vote, and if next week our district attorney tells us otherwise, then we're going to always come back and take corrective action.
So you don't want to hold for 1 week just to see what we can do? You're not going to respect that request?
Since you put it that way, Judge.
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm requesting that we hold 1 week so that we can get the answers, as opposed to making a step at this point in time without the knowledge of knowing what ramifications down the line. Because I can tell you, under this scenario, I'm going to go out and find somebody to look at my website.
I'm going to withdraw my motion because of your request.
Okay, thank you.
Out of respect for your office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll put this on the agenda next week.
Sorry, Ms. Rodriguez, and thank you for your time.
Let me ask a question about this whole process, and I don't have anything for you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Regardless what happens on this, are you holding up on all websites because of this arrangement? I mean, can the rest of us go online that are ready?
The answer is yes, Commissioner. Because of the website we have, the web engine we have right now today has been around for a very long time. It's really old technology, and the way that the websites were set up at the time, some of them cannot be bolted onto a new site, meaning that we cannot simply link onto the old site. One of the precincts, Precinct 3, for example, is one of those that you cannot simply bolt it on. There are some other sites as well that cannot simply be bolted on.
You're confusing me. Answer my question. Can my precinct go online with our website?
We cannot go live without all of the 9 departments that we have in the first release right now. Technologically, we're going to have to go live with all of them at the same time.
All of them have to go at the same time?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
He had already extended the go-live deadline even before this issue came up because so many of the 9 departments were not ready.
How many departments are not ready right now?
I have not received the latest update, but as at the last week when I did a review, there were 4 of those 9 departments had signed off and ready to go live. A couple others were actually in review by the county PIO. So by and large, it's about 3 or 4 departments that, as at last week, were not ready. However, we set a window of 10 business days to be able to quantify exactly where each of the 9 departments are going to be, and then we would be able to know when we can set a new go-live date.
So if we went, now I saw Mark indicate 2. Does that mean that there's 2 that are not ready? Out of the 9 departments, there's only 2 that are not ready. Am I one of them? I just wanted to be sure. I didn't think I was, but I didn't want to stick my foot.
Your Honor, there are 2 departments out of those 9 that we have not received the content yet to do the evaluation, and those are Precinct 2 and Precinct 3 of the Commissioner's Court.
Okay, so we can't go live until we receive those contents.
Yes, sir. We cannot go live until we receive that content, review the content, and then do the bells and whistles, the graphics and all the niceties that they look good, all of those things.
If we went ahead and went live, is there anything that prevents us from changing it once?
No.
No, sir.
So if we went ahead and went live right now, then as far as in next week we approved going forward, then at that point in time, bells and whistles could be added, sizzle and pops could be added, whatever we want to add could be added.
We can do that, Your Honor, and even granted that right now that we speak, if all court members and all of the the 9 agencies that are slated for go live right now, if everybody was happy with what they have, as an ongoing process, we will continue to update and improve the look and the feel of content. That is why we did take the approach of content authors for each of the agencies. Otherwise, we just have, IT doing all the work. Content is very department and agency and precinct specific in nature. And so that content has to be provided, and then our graphics and artistic designers then do all of the background work and all of the bells and whistles and all of those things that
Judge, the answer to your question is yes, we can modify those sites after they go live.
So I guess the next question is, and this will go to, I guess, Andy and Gary, how quickly were you expecting your site to be fixed?
Within the next 10 days. So we can, because the deadline has already been moved,
yes,
correct?
Sir. Yes, sir.
But we haven't decided what the new deadline is.
Well, but
no,
the deadline, the only reason the deadline has been moved is because, is your site ready to go?
No.
So how long are you away from?
Don't have a clue.
Okay. So at this point, if we were to put it up right now, would these 2 just not be, it would just be blank?
Yes, they would. Yeah,
I thought he told us we couldn't put them
yeah.
up
Yes,
until everybody was ready. Now, is that correct or not?
That's correct, Commissioner.
So we can't put them up and those 2 be blank?
No, we would not. We actually we can do a bolt-on for Commissioner Wynn's site, but not Commissioner Ficker's. And I said the variation is because of the way that many years ago, Tarrant County is an early adopter of technology. And so sometimes we come in with a version that is not yet fully mature. So the way that our sites were set up, they were kind of set up all different. And so now that we are at the point of doing the conversion, it is difficult to pick and choose which one so we have to take each block and then move that block together by the way everything is tied together. And then we take the next block. I have not set up the next go live date. We have to wait. We are going to have to re-engage and work with Precinct 1, Precinct 2, excuse me, Commissioner Rooks, with Precinct 2 and Precinct 3 to get them up to speed. We do have all the resources lined up and ready to go. But the content, the raw content as it is, we have to have that.
At the time we submitted our information template, I never would have submitted it if it couldn't be changed, if it couldn't be expanded, if it couldn't be enhanced. We submitted something to get us started, knowing that we would enhance it, we would develop it further, we would add more content, we would add more subject matter as we went along.
Well, that's the way we kind of approached it also from that standpoint, so.
Your Honor, may I make a recommendation? Since you are going to hold this for 1 week, we have some research to do. You all have asked questions that our answers have not been clear to you, and quite frankly, it's confusing to a lot of people. So what I would ask is that you allow us to take this week, come back and do that research, and we will have each of you some very clear, precise answers to your questions.
I think that Ray's last comment of maybe not is very relevant here. If this whole thing is going to hinge on getting an Attorney General's opinion as to whether or not this is a professional services contract, then it may be months before we have a final answer.
Commissioner Brooks, I understand what you're saying. The deal is that if there needs to be modifications, this website is something that you can modify in the future. We've talked with the DA's office, not about this one, but other issues that are pretty close to this. And Ray is exactly right. There are just a very, very few type of services that we can acquire that are under the law are called professional services. A lot of us may call them professional services, but when it comes to what the statutes say, they're not.
Okay, so you're going to get back with us next week,
Yes,
and we'll just kind of go from there.
wanted to say something.
He always does. Any appointments today? There being none, then we have the claims, including the addendum.
Move approval of the claims, including the addendum.
Second. Y'all figure it out. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Manius, briefing items.
Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the court, we have one item to bring. This is really the wrap-up of our budget process, since next week we're going to be approving the budget. So we're going to see if this can come up on the screen real quick.
With any luck, it won't.
When it comes up, you just can't read it.
And Ms. Snyder is here to address the court.
Just have a few wrap-up things that we want to present to you, and I will,
You want me to hand them out, please?
you may, touch on a few of them specifically. Of course, we did get the revenue estimate revisions last week, as well as the certified tax roll for supplemental tax roll from the appraisal district. From the revenue standpoint, there were some changes that were made to our beginning cash balance projections. One of those was to the Road and Bridge Fund of $2.3 million. That had a ripple effect of a reduction from the subsidy in the general fund to the Road and Bridge Fund. You see that listed there as number 4. We had an addition of $1.6 million to beginning cash balances in the general fund, and the supplemental tax roll dated September 1st generated another $1.4 million in tax revenue projections. Everybody have the list in front of you now?
Yes.
I'm just going to touch on a couple of things. One of the things that we had pending for consideration, we have formally added back for your consideration, and that's the capital for the LIM subsystem for the medical examiner's office. We briefly spoke last week about a grant that we have lost. That is addressed with items number 6 and 7. We're actually adding a position to the general fund that was formerly funded by the grant, and we're making a reduction from the grant match that was in County Criminal Court number 5. So that situation remains neutral.
Was that a state grant?
Was it a state grant? No, VAWA. It's feds come through the state. CSCD had 2 employees that they're picking up that were also part of that grant. 8 and 9 are just minor shifting of funding sources between constables and the sheriff's department. Number 10, I was informed that we're further along on the employee survey and that the cost for that would be approximately $30,000. Precinct 3, that was just number 11, that was just an oversight on our part. 2 of the constables put range supplies directly in their budgets, and we're just making an adjustment from Precinct 3's. Number 13, that was something that was on the pending list, and after further research, we're not recommending that we fund that program. And just a quick discussion about retirement. We put in the budget approximately $6 million for a combination of whatever in the end the court decided to do, whether it was simply using all of it toward our unfunded liability, a combination of unfunded liability and retiree COLA. That amount is still in the budget, but I think what our game plan is that we'll actually increase our rate of retirement come January 1st, which is when that rate is annually set, so that as we're paying off unfunded liability, that we're spreading that against all the sources throughout the county, the grants, the special purpose budgets. We didn't have a tool available for us to easily mechanically spread that retirement, even if we made a decision about it right now. So we're going to have to spread that amount amongst all the departments later on anyway. And that gives us about another 6 weeks or so to actually discuss what we formally want to do, maybe get a little further down the line and have that final cash carry forward number so we could increase, decrease, whatever we need to. So basically I'm saying the money's still there. This is a topic or a discussion that will continue on to next fiscal year. Our actual retirement rate for the new TCDRS year doesn't take effect until January 1st of every year.
Any questions?
I don't have a question about that. I have a question about something that you mentioned earlier, which is the LIM system
Yes,
for
sir.
the medical examiner's office. I don't see it on here
It's it's under IT, but it's number 3.
Oh, I see.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
And I guess I'd like to hear a little bit more on, one of the things that we've said in the past, and this may be one of those positions that we want to go ahead and keep funding, but as the state or as the federal government cut a grant, once we pick it up, then it's ours.
Correct.
Right.
And so I would like Greg to come forward and talk a little bit about, maybe I missed this, or maybe we've talked about it before and I just didn't realize we'd talked about it before, but this family violence program grant. And is this the only one where is this the only grant this year that?
This grant, we reached, it was funded through the state, and this is a grant that, because it's a pre-adjudicated program and not a post-adjudicated program, the funding changed. This is a grant where it's the Family Violence Deferred Probation Program, where Judge Cummings amends their bond conditions to allow them to participate in a program and allow them to work their way through this program, so that at the end of the program they have potential to either expunge or at least a non-disclosure on these programs. What she always said, this is the way deferred was supposed to operate for probation. This is that program with that. And it has everything to do is that it's a pre-adjudicated as opposed to a post-adjudicated program.
So if it was post, we would still get the money?
That's
because
correct.
We moved it to pre?
Well, it's always been pre, and then the state came and told us that they were only going to fund post-adjudicated programs.
Judge, I think you're correct that this is something that we had not had a discussion about. But had we had a discussion about it,
I feel good.
I would still support it. So.
Okay, then let's go. But in the future, let's.
And this one was just a combination of oversights and errors.
Yes, oversights and errors.
That didn't bring it to our attention quicker.
Okay.
So both of us apologize, but especially Greg.
Tremendously.
Well, next time you might be out of luck.
Yes, I understand that.
I think that's been clear also.
So,
You asked a question, but let me answer it before I forget. Are there any others? We mentioned last week as we were approving the grant for the Sheriff's Department's Victim Assistance Coordinator, which is something that we are required by law to do. We think this will be the last year that we get that grant. Now, we get so little out of that grant that it may make a $20,000 swing in the budget. But we are absolutely required to do that function.
okay.
So it'll become a total unfunded mandate.
There you
next year.
go.
And again, I would, especially as we enter this legislative season, I would like for you to, as best you can, to continue to prepare for us a list of unfunded mandates. I mean, we need to have a list
correct.
that each one of us can carry when we go to Austin, or that we can carry when we talk to our legislators. And I think it's going to be very important this next session as efforts occur. So if you can, I mean, that should include anybody that's paper ready in the jail. That should include our indigent defense. Those are just two that I can readily think about. So that, along with what you just talked about as far as victim assistance, but, and then anything else that you can think of as we go through that. So do you need an action today on this?
These are things, yes, please.
Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
And this is on the whole list here?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Please vote. Motion passes. Commissioner Johnson, you're unanimously.
My light burned out.
I think it got frustrated and just decided to go off for a while.
It did for a while.
Your Honor, that's all we have at this time.
Then we will now recess our open meeting and proceed to close to discuss items exempted under sections 551.071, 072, 074, 076, and 087 of the Texas Government Code.